So today I will explain about human reproductive system. Before starting this chapter, I would like to revise some points about the first chapter, reproduction in organisms. In reproduction in organism chapter, I have explained the definition of reproduction and significance of it. And significance of reproduction is what? Continuation of species on this biosphere or on this earth. And further, two main classifications of reproduction. One was asexual reproduction and the second was sexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, three types were explained. One was binary fission, which is commonly exhibited by prokaryotes like bacteria and also amoeba in case of favorable conditions. And the second was multiple fission exhibited by amoeba itself under unfavorable conditions. And multiple fission also is exhibited by protozoa called Plasmodium vivax, which is a unicellular eukaryotic organisms. Third type of asexual reproduction explained was budding, which was exhibited by yeast, as well as animals like hydra. Now in sexual reproduction, I have explained the phases of lifespan, that is the phases like juvenile phase, reproductive phase, as well as senescent phase. Juvenile phase is a phase of growth, reproductive phase is reproductive maturity, whereas senescent marks the aging. And then I have explained about sexuality in animals, which includes unisexual animals and bisexual animals. Lastly, I have explained which are the important events in sexual reproduction. One is pre-fertilization events, which includes gametogenesis and gamete transfer. The second is fertilization event itself, and the third is post-fertilization events, which involves formation of gametes and embryogenesis. And today I will be explaining about human reproductive system. Now, human reproductive system has certain main events occurring, which are in sequence and which are very essential events. And those events will be, first is gametogenesis. Now it is very self-explanatory that if the gametes are there, then there is a possibility of sexual reproduction. So first there should be availability of gametes, and production of gametes is nothing but gametogenesis. So this is the first event. After gametogenesis, once the sperms are produced in male and ovum is produced in female, then starts the phenomenon called insemination. Insemination is deposition of sperms into the female reproductive tract in vagina under natural conditions, whereas in ART techniques it can include both vagina as well as intrauterine transfer. So the second step in reproduction is insemination, deposition of the sperm into the vagina, or you can tell deposition of sperms in the female reproductive tract. After insemination, the event that follows is fertilization. Now fertilization is fusion of sperm and ovum, and that itself is nothing but fertilization, which usually follows the insemination. After fertilization, once zygote forms, zygote will start undergoing a special kind of mitotic division, and that division is called cleavage. So the next important one will be cleavage, a special kind of mitotic division. It has some differences when compared to mitotic divisions. Then after cleavage, an important event further follows is implantation. Implantation is the early embryonic stages like blastocyst gets buried in the uterine wall of the mother, or uterine gets attached to the endometrium of the uterus, and that is called as implantation. Now once implantation begins, there is a successful pregnancy, and what starts is after gastrulation starts. Gastrulation is nothing but when blastula will form gastrula, there is establishment of three germ layers, the ectoderm, the endoderm and mesoderm. And all the three germ layers will be present in an early embryonic stage called gastrula, which has been formed from blastocyst. And this formation of gastrula is called gastrulation. After gastrulation comes formation of placenta in around 8th week. The placenta completes to form. So placentation, that is formation of placenta. Placenta forms. It is a physiological connection between mother and fetus. Through this structure only, the exchange of nutrients, removal of waste and all can occur through placenta. Now, as placenta develops, then as the placenta develops, the fetal development starts, and finally, last important event will be parturition. Now, parturition is nothing but process of delivery. And after fertilization, once the development of embryo fetus occurs, this whole period during which the embryo, during which the development of embryo and fetus occurs, that period is called as gestation period. Now, gestation period is around 9 months plus or minus 7 days in case of humans. So these are the events, the main events occurring in human reproductive system. Next is, where is reproductive system located? Whether it is the male reproductive system or female reproductive system, there is one common location where it is present. So the reproductive system is located in the pelvic region. It's also called pelvic cavity. Now, in case here, so you know that here there is a diaphragm, and the cavity that comes above the diaphragm, that is called as thoracic cavity. And further below the diaphragm will be the abdominal cavity. So here comes the abdominal cavity. So this is thoracic cavity, where the lungs, the heart, the mediastinum and all will be present. And below the diaphragm will be the abdominal cavity. Now, the lower part of the abdominal cavity, or you can tell abdominal region here, lower part of it here itself is called pelvic cavity. Now, within this pelvic region of pelvis, only most of the reproductive system, that is both male and female reproductive system, will be located in the pelvic cavity. So, also you know that this pelvic region or pelvic cavity, this is surrounded by bones called the pelvic girdle. And the one which is lowermost is called as the true pelvic region, and slightly above will be called as the false pelvic region. So this pelvic region will now tell you about the location of the reproductive organs. Now we'll start with male reproductive system. So in human reproductive system, I will be explaining about male reproductive system. Now, male reproductive system also locates the same. And what are the main components of the male reproductive system? I will explain that. The male reproductive system consists of testes, a pair of testes, then followed by accessory ducts and accessory glands and external genitalia. These are, you can divide the male reproductive system into these parts. In this, testis is called as primary sex organ. It's called as a primary sex organ. Whereas, of course, the remaining will be, you can tell the remaining will be what? The secondary sex organs. Or instead of telling secondary, we use the accessory also. Secondary sex organs include the remaining part. Now, why is testis called the primary sex organs? Testis is called primary sex organs for two reasons. Again, why it is called as a primary sex organ? One reason is, since testis is involved in production of the sex cells called sperms, gametes called as sperms. Therefore, it is called as primary sex organs. Now, second is, testis also is involved in production of androgens, which are called as male sex hormones. Now, male hormones is known by a term called androgen, and the best example of an androgen is testosterone. Called testosterone, which is a steroid hormone. So now I will be explaining about the structure of testis. So testis is oval in shape. And it is also called as what? It's called as primary sex organ, owing to the fact that they produce sperm and at the same time they also produce the male sex hormone. Now, explaining about testis. Testis, singular, yes, plural. Explaining about the cross section of testis. Now, first is, testis is oval in shape, regarding its shape, oval in shape, and it has a dimension, length of 4 to 5 centimeters and a width of 2 to 3 centimeters. And coming to location of testis. Testis is located extra-abdominally. So the position of testis is extra-abdominal in position. That is the location or position of testis. What does it mean? Before this, I have drawn the diagram of abdominal cavity. So testis is not found within the abdominal cavity or neither inside the pelvic cavity. Rather, it is found outside the abdominal cavity. Since it is located outside the abdominal cavity, we call it as extra abdominal testis, or you can tell a testis that is located outside the abdominal cavity. Now in the outside of an abdominal cavity, it is located in a skin pouch. This skin pouch is called as scrotum. So testis is located extra-abdominally in scrotum. And regarding its testis is usually not at the same position. Left testis is slightly lower and the right one is slightly upper. And scrotum is a pigmented skin pouch here into which the testis is located. And also you should know, there is a septum that divides the scrotum into two compartments, each compartment having one testis, the right testis as well as the left testis. So this was about location. There are certain animals where the testis is located inside the abdominal cavity, and those animals are usually like elephants, seals and all. The testis will be located inside the abdominal cavity in a normal condition itself. Whereas in certain seasonal breeders like llama or certain rodents, only during breeding season the testis gets lodged into the scrotum. Otherwise, again they will be located near to the abdominal cavity. So, but in humans, the location of testis is extra-abdominal location. Now, as I told, it is oval in shape and it is protected by 3 layers. So, one layer here, the outermost protective layer is called tunica vaginalis. So tunica vaginalis in turn is made up of 2 layers. Here there will be one layer called as parietal layer and this is visceral layer. And in between comes the cavity. So the parietal layer, the visceral layer and the cavity together forms what is called tunica vaginalis. And this forms the outermost part. Inside to this layer of tunica vaginalis, this continues here, tunica vaginalis. Inside to it will be a layer called tunica albuginea, which is a tough fibrous connective tissue. And therefore, the second layer that follows here, this is tunica albuginea. Tunica albuginea. And you should know about it, it is very tough fibrous connective tissue it is. Tough fibrous connective tissue. Now what this tunica albuginea does is, tunica albuginea, a tough fibrous connective tissue, divides the testis into compartments. Divides the testis into compartments. Each compartment is called testicular lobules. So therefore, what does a testis have? What is a testis? It's a primary sex organ located extra-abdominally in a pigmented skin pouch called scrotum, and it is divided into 250 compartments. So testis consists of 250 compartments, and these compartments are called testicular lobules. Now for inside each of the compartment, that means which is divided by tunica albuginea, there is a very thin layer of highly with rich capillaries on it. And this layer, the third layer next to tunica albuginea is tunica vasculosa, and it is having many capillaries, but the connective tissue is not tough, it is a weak connective tissue. So now the third layer, tunica vasculosa. It aligns the testicular compartments called as testicular lobules. So the third layer, like this it continues in most of the in all of the compartments. The inner lining of inner to the tunica albuginea and also lines the testicular compartment. This third layer is called tunica vasculosa. It is rich in capillaries as well as, but however the connective tissue is not a tough fibrous connective tissue, instead it is a weak connective tissue. So now you should know that the testis is covered by 3 protective layers from outside to inside. It will be tunica vaginalis, tunica albuginea, and finally a very thin inner lining of the compartment as well as inside of the tunica albuginea will be tunica vasculosa. So this is about the compartmentation in testis. Now inside this compartments, inside this testicular lobules, there are highly coiled tubules are present. Now these coiled tubules are called seminiferous tubules. So seminiferous tubules, what is its importance is? As I told that testis is called primary sex organ, it is because it produces sperms, and the exact site where the sperms are produced is this tubules, highly coiled tubules called seminiferous tubules. Now these tubules are called seminiferous tubules. Now what exactly occurs in seminiferous tubule is the exact site for production of sperm. That is nothing but spermatogenesis. So here what occurs in seminiferous tubule is spermatogenesis. So how many seminiferous tubules are there in each compartment? In each compartment, somewhere around 1 to 3 seminiferous tubules will be present. So that is how the seminiferous tubules and the number of them, there is 2 to 3 will be existing in each of the compartment. Seminiferous tubules will be produced by spermatic cords that are formed in the genital ridge in the fetal stages. So this is about the structure of only the, not complete, but only the structure of the seminiferous tubules. Now, before explaining further other structures of testis, I'll explain where the testis is located during embryonic stages. So testis in fetal stage actually will be intra-abdominal, it won't be located extra-abdominal. But in around the 7th month of gestation period, so suppose this is the abdominal region and Where is the diaphragm here? Thoracic cavity, abdominal cavity. So near around in the lumbar region where the lumbar vertebrae will be there, or you can tell near to the kidneys, this testis will be formed in fetal stages. But in 7th month of gestation period, in 7th month of gestation period, the testis which is formed near the kidney, or you can tell which is formed near the lumbar region, will now descend into the scrotal sac, and that itself is called descendants of testis. Descend means they come down. That means the testis which was there intra-abdominal in fetal stage, in the 7th month of development in the womb or in the what you call gestation period, the testis which was intra-abdominal now will come down and gets lodged into this pigmented skin pouch called scrotum, which I already told. Now how the descendants occurs? It should occur through a passage here, which is few centimeters long here, and this passage through which the testis will descend into the into the scrotum is called inguinal canal. Now these are the testis which is formed just near the kidney, you can tell, or the lumbar regions in the before the 6th month. It will be intra-abdominal. But in 7th month of gestation, what happens? Those intra-abdominal testes will now slowly pass through this canal and then lodge in scrotum. Now this canal is called as inguinal canal. Inguinal canal it is called. So therefore, which can be, now what happens in 7th month? This testis will slowly move across this inguinal canal and then lodge or come and settle and lodge into the skin pouch called scrotum. Now this phenomenon is called descendants of testis. This can be hormonally controlled and also depends on other growth and other development factors. In many of the children, even after birth, the testis will not descend into the scrotum. That condition is called cryptorchidism. And in some individual, only one testis will descend or the other testis will not descend. Monorchidism it is called. Or in some cases, the testis remain in an abnormal position, they never descend at all, and they start growing in an abnormal location. That kind of testis is called ectopic testis. So this is about how the testis will be intra-abdominal before 7th month, and once the 7th month of gestation starts, slowly the testis descends into the scrotal sac. Now, if a cross section of seminiferous tubule is done here, if a cross section of seminiferous tubule is done, it will reveal a circular structure like this. So this is nothing but a cross section of seminiferous tubules. What kind of cells seminiferous tubules can have? Seminiferous tubules will be lined by germinal epithelium. So the inner lining will be the germinal epithelium. Whereas there are second type of a cell which are conical or pyramidal in shape. These cells are called Sertoli cells. Now if the germinal epithelium is there, it will be what kind? Whether it will be squamous or cuboidal, or if this has to be experiments. The germinal epithelium is actually made up of cuboidal epithelium. So it should have a basement membrane followed by the cells which are cuboidal. Such type of epithelium is called cuboidal epithelium. And since it is involved in production of sperm, it is called as cuboidal germinal epithelium. And the second type of cell present here is Sertoli cells. Now what do these cuboidal epithelium have? Now cuboidal epithelium, the germinal epithelium will have what kind of cells? Cuboidal cells. And they also, this epithelium have cells that give rise to sperms. For example, they have gamete mother cell called spermatogonia. Spermatogonia. These are called as gamete mother cell. And this spermatogonia, for example, here this is spermatogonia, this will undergo meiosis and finally produce sperms. So these are called germ cells. Germinal epithelium, the cells present inside are germ cells, which are typically the epithelium is cuboidal, and they have a gamete mother cell called spermatogonia, which have capacity to undergo meiosis and then produces sperms. So this is the first type of cells present inside seminiferous tubules. Now second type of cell is, it does not have any role in production of sperm, but as the cells mature into sperm, they provide food for them, we can tell, or nutrition for them. So nutrition providing cells are called as nurse cells. So this was about, and now I am explaining about the Sertoli cells. Sertoli cells are nurse cells. They are also called sustentacular cells. Now what is their main role? Their main role is they nourish. What do you mean by nourish? Providing nutrients or providing food, you can tell in a common way. So they help in nourishment of maturing sperm. Now how the sperm is getting matured? The spermatogonia which was here, it will undergo meiosis and then produce the sperm. During this maturation, during this meiosis and further maturation steps will be at the last actually. First meiosis will occur, further maturation step. So these are all developmental stages of the cells. For them, food is provided by the Sertoli cells and therefore it's called nurse cells or sustentacular cells. They help in nourishment of maturing sperms. So that is the two types of cells present in seminiferous tubules. And you know that each compartment has how many seminiferous tubules? 1, 2, 3. Then every compartment will have how many? You have to multiply with 250 because total compartments present here are 250. So this completes the cross section of seminiferous tubules. One, two, three seminiferous tubules in one compartment. Now what will be there in between? So here there are seminiferous tubules, Sertoli cells, germinal Sertoli cells, germ cells, Sertoli cells, germ cells like that. Seminiferous tubules are there. So one compartment say has 3. And what will be present in between is, of course in between these tubules, what is present is interstitium. Interstitium. Now, interstitium, of course, should have its cells, interstitial cells. Now, what are those interstitial cells present here? So, there are some interstitial cells present between the seminiferous tubules, not inside the seminiferous tubule. They are present between the seminiferous tubules. Those cells are called Leydig, named after the scientist. Leydig is named as marker perspective after the scientist. Leydig cells. Now you cannot tell Leydig cells are inside the seminiferous tubule. Now I have already told that they are present inside the interstitium. So Leydig cells can be called which cells? Interstitial cells. And again I was telling that why testis is called primary sex organ. It is because it produces sperm, and second reason why it was because it produces a male sex hormone called testosterone, which is also called androgen. Now that testosterone hormone is produced by Leydig. So since they produce a hormone, Leydig cells can be called as endocrine cells. Okay. So this was about within a compartment. Further, if this is a seminiferous tubule, then surrounding will be interstitium. Now in these interstitium only will be special kind of endocrine glands called Leydig cells. Now you know that even though you can tell testis is the primary sex organ, the exact site for production of sperm is seminiferous tubule, but the exact site where the testosterone is present is within the cells in the interstitium called as Leydig cells. So this completes regarding the seminiferous tubules, its functions, and what are the cells present in seminiferous tubules. Next I will explain about the skin pouch into which this testis is located, and that skin pouch is called as scrotum. And then I will discuss an important topic as to what is the function of scrotum. Now remaining, that is retitestis, vas efferentia and vasa differentia, those I will be explaining in the accessory duct system. So you should know what are the events in reproduction. First you should know broadly what events will be there in the reproduction, which are stated in sequence at the start of this class itself. And then I will explain about the primary sex organ testis and its cross-section. Now I will be explaining about one of the important topics which is frequently asked in the multiple choice questions. That is scrotum. Now scrotum, as I already told, it is the skin pouch. It is pigmented skin pouch. Into which what is located is a pair of testis is located, and testis is fixed into the wall of the scrotum through through a fibrous structure called gubernaculum. Now what is the function of scrotum? Most of them point have already told. It has how many compartments? It has 2 compartments. Now what is that division called? Scrotal septum. It's called as scrotal septum. Okay. So it's a pigmented skin pouch divided into 2 compartments by a septum called scrotal septum, into which will be lodged a pair of testes, which are not symmetrical. It means the left one will be slightly lower and the right one will be slightly up. So now what the septum is, this is also a connective tissue. Septum also is a connective. So this is how is the scrotum. Now what is the function of scrotum. Here lies an important topic. Now, you know that extra-abdominal position is based on because the testis is located in scrotum. Now, what is the function of scrotum? It is thermoregulatory in term. Thermoregulator means it can change the temperature. Like, in what sense does it change the temperature? Does it increase the temperature around the testis, that is within the testis, or it will decrease the temperature within the testis? So it is able to regulate. It is not having, it cannot maintain a fixed temperature. It will try to regulate. Whenever the temperature goes up, it will bring back to normal, or whenever temperature goes down again, it brings back to normal. So main role, it ensures that spermatogenesis continues to form in the testis. Now, what is thermoregulation is? This scrotum will ensure that the temperature around testis is 2 to 2.5 less than that of body temperature. Now, what is the body temperature? 37 degrees. Now, what is the temperature maintained by scrotum? It is 2 to 2.5 degrees less than that of normal body temperature. Now, 2 less than this will be what? 35, or 2.5 means 34 point. That means scrotum will ensure that the temperature around and within the testis will be how much? Either 35 degrees centigrade or 34.5 degrees centigrade. So it maintains lower temperatures compared to rest part of the body. Suppose if the rest part of the body is 37, but the scrotum experiences lesser temperature. That is the function of scrotum. Now, how does it maintain? With the help of muscles called dartos muscles. These muscles are smooth muscles, they are present in the wall of the scrotum. So, these are called smooth muscles. Now, what is the function of dartos muscle? So, it is contractile. Since it is a muscle, it can contract as well as it can relax. Now, these dartos muscle are present within this scrotum. Now, how does it layer starts is? Usually scrotum starts with the skin, then there is a muscle called dartos muscle along with its fascia, then external spermatic fascia, then one more muscle called cremaster muscle comes, then internal spermatic fascia comes, and then comes the parietal layer of tunica vaginalis, then comes the cavity, and one more visceral layer of tunica vaginalis. Then comes tunica albuginea, and last comes the tunica vesicalis. So here you can see this is the dartos muscle as well as cremaster muscle. Both muscles are however important, but important role of maintaining is by dartos muscles. So what happens? When dartos muscles will contract, it will push the testis slightly near the which cavity? Near the abdominal cavity. When it pushes the testis slightly near abdomen, now it can take the temperature from abdominal cavity, and therefore contraction is common when the temperature is low. So when temperature is too less, that time also what regulation is lost. What is this temperature? I told how much less? 35 degrees or 34.5. It is 2 to 2.5 degrees centigrade less than that of body. Why it is useful? Why it is regulating this temperature? Because this temperature is very important for spermatogenesis. That means at this temperature only spermatogenesis can occur. If temperature is too cold, that time also spermatogenesis cannot, sperms cannot form. Or when the temperature is too higher than this, That time also sperms cannot be formed. As a result, what happens? The scrotum, with the help of dartus muscle, constantly it will be trying to maintain the temperature to this temperature, so that either it should not increase or it should not decrease. So how does it do? When the temperature is low in the environment, so also the testis will experience a lower temperature, that means lower than say 35. In that case, when it goes say 33 or so, less it goes, that time also spermatogenesis can be affected. So to increase it, what happens? The dartus muscles contract and the testis is moved towards the abdominal cavity, slightly towards the abdomen. It doesn't go inside the abdomen, but it moves slightly towards the abdominal cavity. When it moves towards the abdominal cavity, when it is lifted towards the abdominal cavity, then it can take some extra temperature from the abdominal cavity or from the rest part of the body it can take, so that again it will maintain around this optimum temperature. Now in case surrounding environment is hot, very hot in summer, where the temperature is high, then testis will be experiencing a higher temperatures here. In that case, dartus muscles role is not there, so it will not contract, but instead it will relax, so that now there is no need for the testis to take that extra temperature from abdominal cavity. So when dartus muscles relax, the testis is again coming away, or it is pulled back towards away from the is pulled back away from this abdominal cavity, so that again normal temperature is maintained just by being outside the abdominal cavity. So this is the function of dartus muscles, and this dartus muscle are located in scrotum itself, and how this muscle ultimately changes the location of testis and tries to control the temperature. So that is a function of scrotum. So in a nutshell, what has to be told? Scrotum is responsible for maintaining the temperature around testis, how much? 2 to 2.5 degrees less than body temperature, because this is very useful for what? Spermatogenesis. Now consider, in a child after birth, the testis is not descended. When it is not descended, means that child will have a testis intra-abdominal. In that case, testis will be experiencing 37 degree centigrade. At this temperature, what will not occur is spermatogenesis will not occur. That means it will be totally not efficient. Therefore, such individuals who are born with undescended testis, or who are born with a condition called cryptorchidism, there what will not occur in them is spermatogenesis will not occur. So sperm count will, sperms won't be there. As a result, they suffer with infertility, that is inability to produce children. So this completes about the function of scrotum and how the testis is connected to scrotum too. And you should know that the scrotal cavity will be connected to abdominal cavity through a cord called spermatic cord. This is called spermatic cord. So spermatic cord, this will be having nerves, testicular blood vessels including arteries and veins. So it should have, of course, the one of the duct that comes, which I will explain, is vas deferens, lymphatic vessels, So all these structures are supposed to be present in spermatic cord. Spermatic cord ensures that the testis is in a suspended state into the scrotum, rather than testis is completely not located in scrotum, but it's located in scrotum, but it is not on its own, adding the bulk to the scrotum itself, but it is suspended by this spermatic cord that forms a connection with the scrotal cavity with that of abdominal cavity. Of course, this this spermatic cord will be passing through inguinal canal. And I told you, inguinal canal is a passage through which the descendants of testes will occur.
Second month, you know, 50 month. So finally, I would like to brief today's topic. That is nothing but male reproductive system has been taught and a cross section of testis has been taught. But however, what has to be continued is accessory ducts. Accessory ducts, for which I will take the diagram of the testis, and these are what? These are compartments of the testis. And inside these compartments, I told there is a site where exactly the sperms will be sperms will be produced. That site is seminiferous. Now seminiferous tubules, in between the seminiferous tubules will be gestation and that will be site. There are cells in there, special cells that produces testosterone. Now you can observe that the seminiferous tubules which are highly coiled now become suddenly straight. Now this duct system starts now, and this is called tubuli recta, and anastomosis occurs, and there is a network of tubules formed here. They all unite and form a network of tubule, and this network of tubule is ready. A part where volume is lost becomes more straight. They arise from each of the compartment, unite and form a network here. This is called retitestis. They all have ciliated epithelium, which is useful for movement of sperms, because here when a sperm is formed, it won't be good enough in motility. The actual motility comes in the next part of the duct called epididymis. Now from retitestis, which is a network of ducts, remember, retitestis is network. Then that means seminiferous tubules ultimately connected to ready testis, and the sperms which are produced in seminiferous tubules should move into tubuli erecta and finally should go into ready testis. And I told you motility is not significant during this time. The actual motility comes in epididymis during physiological maturation. Now what will be moving inside this is spermatic fluids will be moving here. So there are fluids here moving within these ducts. So the sperm will be carried, even though the sperm is not motile yet. Okay, not significantly motile or almost non-motile. So it will be carried through spermatic fluid. Then we will go to where? In this part. That is seminiferous tubule, tubuli erecti and ready testis. So these are what? They are seminiferous tubules. No? The remaining terms will start with the ready testis. Now arising from ready testis are somewhere around 12 tubules. These are the tubules that will are the first kind of tubules that will come out of the testis, and these tubules are called vasa efferentia. Vasas is plural. Vas efferens means single, so vasa efferentia. So vasa efferentia can be around 12 or 10 to 12 or up to even up to 15. Now arising from where? Right. Now you came to know the sequence of ducts inside this the testis. The seminiferous tubules was the functional side, but the one that carries the product of the from that side is the tubuli erecti as well as the testis as well as vasa efferentia. Vasa efferentia, all these tubes will ultimately unite and form a single tube, which is highly coiled and forms what is called as epididymis. Epididymis onwards, the axillary ducts will be taught in the next class. But however, one important point which you should know is, if there is, say, the testis located here, and right now it is this structure is viewed from the ventral aspect. This will be called superior pole of the testis, inferior pole of the testis. This will be anterior testis, and the behind one will be posterior testis. And this epididymis is not located on the lateral side of testis, it is rather located on the posterior of the testis. So this completes what was there today about the